7 Unusual Aspects of Davy Crockett that remain inexplicable. Envision a man who exchanged literature for ammunition, classrooms for rugged landscapes, and political debates for gunfights. Davy Crockett, the legendary frontiersman, led a life as unpredictable as the untamed territories he traversed. From his hasty exit from school after a single altercation to confronting bears and fighting valiantly at the historic Alamo, his escapades have become the stuff of folklore. Yet, beneath the bravado and mythos lies a complex web of enigmas and contradictions that have intrigued historians for generations. What compelled him to leave his family for extended periods? How did he transition from a rough and tumble hunter to a charming politician? And what truly transpired during his final moments at the Alamo? Join us as we explore 7 unusual aspects of Davy Crockett that defy explanation and reveal the concealed truths behind one of America's most enduring figures. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe to our channel to support our community. In terms of academic commitment, Davy Crockett resembled Bart Simpson more than Lisa. According to his own narrative, Crockett attended school for only 4 days before engaging in a fight with another student, which left him genuinely upset. Following this incident, he never returned to the schoolhouse, a development that likely pleased his rival. For several days after his unofficial exit, Crockett feigned attendance with his brothers. However, a teacher eventually sent a note to his father, prompting an inquiry into his absence. Crockett explained that he was afraid of the teacher's punishment, which led his father to threaten him with a beating as well. Caught between 2 potential punishments, he chose to escape. The young Crockett left Tennessee and took on various jobs before returning home 2 years later, reminiscent of a prodigal son. However, if he anticipated a warm reception, he was sorely mistaken. Upon his arrival at his father's residence, he remarked that he had been away for such an extended period and had changed so significantly that his family initially failed to recognize him. However, he realized that it was not merely his transformation that caused this disconnect. Rather, his family had long since lost hope in him and no longer held any expectations. The situation was undeniably uncomfortable. The family's response was predictable, considering the circumstances surrounding his departure and the duration of his absence. Davy Crockett wed Mary Polly Finley in 1806, likely drawn to the charming pairing of their names. Together, they welcomed 3 children, John Wesley, William, and Margaret. The family lived in Tennessee, close to Winchester. At first glance, they seemed to embody the image of a joyful family. However, the outbreak of the Creek War in 1813 saw the Creek tribes splinter into factions. The Red Sticks faction executed a brutal assault on Fort Mims on August 30th, resulting in the deaths of militia members, civilians, and Creek allies. This attack incited widespread indignation, leading Davy Crockett to volunteer for combat. He recalled feeling no trepidation about death, contrary to what one might anticipate. Instead, it was his wife Polly who experienced that fear. Crockett recounted her pleas for him to stay, emphasizing her sense of isolation within their community and the absence of nearby family support. Although he found her concerns valid, Crockett remained steadfast in his decision to engage in battle, convinced that further assaults would follow if no action was taken. He believed he had too much to lose to allow unmarried men to shoulder the responsibility. He articulated his reasoning to Polly, but she simply shed a few tears and returned to her tasks. In those days, there was little room for emotional displays. During the conflict with the Creek, food was exceedingly scarce among the troops. Consequently, Davy Crockett utilized his frontier expertise to provide sustenance for his fellow soldiers. Every group requires at least one individual skilled in cooking, and Crockett's contributions extended to various types of animals. He pursued turkeys whenever they were available, and upon finding a dead deer, he distributed the meat, retaining only enough to prepare a hearty meal. The following day, he encountered a sizable group of hogs and successfully shot one on the spot. This action caused the remaining hogs to flee towards the camp. His companions opened fire, successfully taking down several hogs along with a plump cow that had strayed. Fortunately, they were frontiersmen who did not frequent grocery stores. Otherwise, they might have inadvertently fired into the produce aisle. Crockett also mentioned that bear hunting was among his preferred pastimes, boasting that he had hunted over 100 bears in a single season. So, if bears were to become extinct, Davy would be the one to hold accountable. In later years, Crockett recounted a perilous encounter after shooting at a particular bear. The bear raised a paw and let out a loud snort. Crockett quickly reloaded and aimed at the same spot where he had previously struck. At the sound of the gunshot, the bear collapsed onto one of his dogs, igniting Crockett's fierce determination. Grasping his tomahawk in one hand and a knife in the other, he approached the bear until he was just a few paces away, at which point the bear released the dog and turned its gaze toward him. In a swift motion, Crockett loaded his gun once more and fired a third shot, which ultimately brought the bear down for good. When it came to wild encounters, Crockett certainly embodied the essence of survival. His exploits showcased his courage and expertise in the wilderness. Perhaps due to an enigmatic link between governance and bear hunting, Davy Crockett served multiple terms as a congressman from Tennessee during the 1820s and 1830s. As his political career progressed, his relationship with President Andrew Jackson shifted from that of comrades to adversaries. Considering Crockett's rugged upbringing, it is reasonable to suggest that Jackson may have found himself at a disadvantage. In 1835, despite their differing political views, Crockett came to the assistance of Jackson. During President Jackson's attendance at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., for the funeral of South Carolina Congressman Warren Davis, Crockett was also present. When the would-be assassin Richard Lawrence brandished two firearms and fired at Jackson, Crockett was among those who tackled the assailant. As Crockett and others restrained Lawrence, Jackson reportedly struck him with his cane, creating a scene reminiscent of an action film. Reflecting on the incident, Crockett remarked, "I wanted to see the damnedest villain in the world, and now I've seen him." He appeared to be impressed by Lawrence's resilience and his ability to deliver a dramatic performance, akin to a character from a theatrical production. This event underscored Crockett's willingness to take action in emergencies, even when it meant supporting someone with whom he had political disagreements. His adversaries often viewed him as uneducated and coarse, likely due to his limited formal education. Nevertheless, he capitalized on his frontiersman image. Crockett's charisma and humor on the campaign trail won him considerable support, as he often infused his speeches with wit, poking fun at his rivals. He embodied the archetype of the relatable candidate, someone you could easily share a drink with. When he contested against William Edward Butler for a seat in the 1823 General Assembly in Tennessee, he faced significant challenges. Butler, who was related to Andrew Jackson, possessed a far superior education compared to Crockett. Even Crockett recognized Butler's intelligence, offering high praise for someone known for his bold assertions. At a crucial campaign event, Crockett insisted on speaking first, breaking from his usual practice of allowing Butler to take the lead. He then delivered one of Butler's well-known speeches word for word, leaving his opponent speechless in a scene reminiscent of a frontier interpretation of the end of 8 Mile. Ultimately, Crockett triumphed with a majority of 247 votes, ensuring his return to the legislature from a new district without missing a single session. When President Andrew Jackson enacted the Indian Removal Act in 1830, it empowered him to displace Native American tribes from their ancestral lands to unoccupied territories west of the Mississippi River. This policy, however, faced significant opposition, and Crockett emerged as a leading critic. Consequently, he encountered a smear campaign during his 1831 congressional re-election attempt, which he ultimately lost. Undaunted, he later expressed, "I would prefer to be defeated and maintain my integrity than to be elected and act like a sycophant." By 1834, Crockett had returned to Congress, yet presidential hopeful Martin Van Buren continued to endorse Jackson's Indian removal policy. Crockett remained staunchly opposed, declaring, "I have nearly lost hope. This cause is doomed." He even proclaimed that if Van Buren were to win the presidency, he would leave the United States and choose to live in the wilderness of Texas, which was then an independent nation. While this ultimatum may seem unusual today, it was a serious declaration at the time. Davy Crockett was among those who threatened to depart the country if his rival candidate secured the presidency, and he indeed acted on his word. After suffering another defeat in the 1835 re-election campaign, he relocated to Texas. Although it is commendable that he honored his promise, his experience in Texas would ultimately lead to tragedy. In January 1836, Crockett arrived in East Texas, traveling through Nacogdoches and San Agustin before reaching San Antonio. By the time he arrived, the Texas Revolution had escalated, with thousands of Mexican troops under the command of Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna attempting to suppress the movement for Texas independence. Approximately 200 Texas militiamen had taken refuge at the Alamo mission. As Santa Anna and his forces drew near, Crockett found himself facing relentless challenges. In preparation for the impending siege, he and the other defenders inside the Alamo gathered essential supplies and made every effort to ready themselves. Crockett was known to lighten the mood by sharing jokes, recounting tales, and likely engaging in some form of improvisational storytelling. Now, your suggestion is to endure against insurmountable odds. The siege of the Alamo extended for 13 days, during which the vastly outnumbered Texans held their ground until the compound's walls were breached on March 6th. Crockett lost his life in the conflict, though accounts of his final moments vary. Some assert that he fought valiantly until the end. However, a narrative by Mexican Lieutenant Colonel José Enrique de la Peña claims that Crockett survived the siege and surrendered to Santa Anna, only to be executed shortly thereafter alongside 6 others. According to de la Peña, Crockett faced his executioners with defiance, refusing to submit. This portrayal aligns with his character. His courage and resistance against overwhelming odds have become legendary, symbolizing his indomitable spirit. As we conclude our exploration of Davy Crockett's lesser-known stories, we are left with more inquiries than resolutions. Was he a hero, a rebel, or merely a man guided by his principles? The reality, much like Crockett himself, remains elusive, obscured by the myths and legends that have developed around him. Nevertheless, one fact stands clear. His legacy continues to intrigue us, motivating us to delve into the unexplored realms of history and question the narratives we have long accepted. What are your thoughts? Do you view Davy Crockett as a genuine American hero or as a multifaceted individual whose story is still awaiting full revelation? Please share your insights in the comments below.